All right, so in this week's video, we're gonna talk about a concept that I think is extremely important for your growth and development as a boxer. And this is the idea of taking away, of removing things that you depend on and trying to let your other tools solve problems in their absence. So every time I break my hand, or every time I have a knee injury or a neck injury or something, all right, I really try not to completely avoid training. I try to keep training around that injury. And now when you're doing this, there are certain things that are going to be off limits. There are certain things that might be unsafe to do. You might have to carefully select your sparring partners. In this particular case, my right hand's broken. So in its absence, I'm trying to spar all lefty. I'm trying to use my left hand and I'm trying to solve the problems that I would usually solve with my right hand, both defensively, offensively, and positionally with only my left. I've had to do this many times throughout my career, and every single time when you remove something, this subtractive training gives you more. It forces you to be creative, it forces you to think positionally, and it forces you to really think about the system and how you can play with its variables. So we're gonna watch some footage and I'm gonna talk you through some of the problems I run into and how I solve some of these problems so that hopefully you can think this way and use this concept when you fight. Starting here working with our competitor, Luke. Luke's a great guy to work with. He's fast, he understands the Bambera boxing system, and he's around my size, which is always nice. So let's check it out. Good. Right off the bat, you can tell how careful I have to be defensively and how much I have to dress up my entries here. All right, my opponents here, my teammates in this particular case, know that I'm gonna be opening with the left hand. They know I can't threaten with the right. So I've got to very carefully clear a path to get to them and to let that left hand do its job. I can create a little bit of ambiguity here positionally because I can land my 3, which is the only power punch I have on my left hand, by taking my closed side angle, that's a lie, by taking my closed side lane, or by taking my open side angle, like I did there. But I need to find a way to put this person on my right side if I'm gonna land a powerful punch. Otherwise, it's all set up with the jab and with the 5. Something I ran into as I've been doing this over the last couple weeks is I realized a couple things. The first thing I realized is because my right hand is always home protecting me, it almost makes this person play a very right hand dominant game themselves, where it's hard for them to find a home for their left because my right is mirror defending it, so they end up throwing their right hand a lot more. The other thing I found is I've had to fall back on my secondary and tertiary lines of defense on my lead side. And I found this happen because that hand is out there. It's out there being offensive. It's not back home. So I'm using head movement. I'm using a lot of smothering tactics. I'm using that shoulder roll a lot more. And that shoulder roll is a good thing to develop if you've only got the left hand, because by allowing me to move my hand around instead of it being stuck pinned to my guard, I can create different angles of attack. So I can come up with that jab, or I can come around with that 3 if I can depend on my shoulder protecting the lead side of my head. And you can see sometimes that works, other times I'm getting hit with that right hand. Beautiful. I let Luke fall onto my open side so that I could land that 3. You can see here how busy my guard has to be because I can't threaten with my right hand. So constant traffic, moving and catching shots, sliding them around my guard so that I can hold position and look for that perfect shot with the left. one thing that I definitely noticed is when I was able to punch in combination, it's all off of the same hand, which kind of messes up people's flow. People are used to slipping to their open side and then rolling to their closed side. They're used to bobbing and weaving, anticipating somebody alternating left, right punches. And if I was willing to use that long beat and wait a moment, I'd throw that jab or I'd throw that 5, they'd slip elbow side, I'd let them roll, and then I'd hit them as they popped up. Because they're thinking about defending the right hand, but they're putting themselves in a position where I can land the lead. Practicing those same side returns right here. You can see me attempting to think positionally here and get myself to the open side, but Luke's too clever and defensive for me, and he immediately gets out of the way. Good. Even if it's off of one hand, you can see me trying to pair hooks and uppercuts. And you see me getting hit there, even though the only thing my right hand is supposed to be doing is protecting my chin, it's still easy for that to get lazy, for you to lose focus and discipline. Tried to feint with the right hand there. Try to keep Luke thinking about it so he's not abusing too much that I don't have a cross. It's important no matter what striking martial art you're in, you're pairing linear and round attacks, you're pairing round and linear attacks. You see me doing that here, even when I've only got one hand with the 3-5 or the 5-3. Nice frame from Luke. He knows that when he throws that left hand, I can't come over the shoulder and hit him. So he can leave that hand out there and he can push me off base. Smart thing, he does it very well. Luke's a very physical fighter. I like working with him. You can see here as I'm getting tired, my feet are getting less mobile. So I'm not as stacked as I should be, but I'm still recognizing that distance is your first line of defense. And I'm trying to use that jab, step out of range, try to bait that shot, get under it. You might not have the mental focus to use your specific defenses, but something as simple as ducking, throwing up that high guard, or stepping out of range can keep you alive and keep you in a fight if you can accommodate it with the rest of your skill set. Once again, you can see that physicality from Luke here. He's doing a great job pushing and shoving on the inside. And I'm trying to be patient and look for those openings. But he's game. He knows what he's doing here. Good, and right here, you can see those same side returns, keeping me in the fight. But it's tough to hunt down those moments. You gotta have patience, and like I said, if you're doing this subtractive training, you've got to pick the right person to work with. You shouldn't be fighting down tools. You're training down tools. Good. Again here, good understanding of lane theory, keeping me safe. I know what I'm vulnerable to from what positions and following what punches. In my final round with Luke here, again, not as mobile, but it's important to remember that line of sight and good posture and base are the things that keep you the safest in a fight or in a spar. And you can see I'm keeping my composure, I'm trying to keep my shoulders stacked, I'm keeping a nice base where I have access to all of my tools and techniques. I have a nice moment here where I'm thinking ahead. I'm an inside fighter at heart. And you can see working the jab and the 5 is important, but getting in there, moving around elbows and heads and hooks and uppercuts is really where I shine. And again, with one hand, I can find a way to do this while keeping my liver safe and protected. And if I ever get hurt to a body in a fight, these are tactics that I'm developing that I can employ that will give me success. Good. Finally found my feet again. Thinking about taking that open side angle, thinking about taking that closed side lane to try to set up my 3. Little irresponsible with my right hand, but that's how you learn. Good, and you can see I lost my base there, and Luke walked me all the way back to the ropes. This is my last round with Luke, so we're trying to stay a little bit busier, which might be a little more reckless than I'd like, but that's okay. We got the big gloves on. And right there is a really good example of some of these aha moments you have when you're doing the subtractive training. I frequently use that catch on the inside on the lead elbow to exit exchanges, but I've never really used it before to set up an attack on the center line like I did there, and I've been doing that ever since I had this sparring on Sunday. So just like that, I learned something that's going to help me even when I introduce all of my other skills. And there it is again. You can see that jab's getting kind of pushy, but I've been doing this one-handed. I think this was my 11th round of the day or something like that. Nice. Let's go. Simon's a strong, thoughtful teammate. And with him, because I know he's thinking and because I know he's setting traps for me, we spend a lot of this first round having almost like a theoretical fight, where we're both trying to set up entries that are safe so we're not going to run into a shot where we come into an exchange. For the people that know how to watch boxing, all of these feints are little threads, little starts to narratives that get closed off because of something the other person shows. And again, you can see here, early in a spar or early in a fight, you're depending on your non-specific defenses. Lots of distance, lots of high guard, lots of just ducking. We haven't patterned each other out yet in a way where we can confidently slip and parry and roll, because you have to have a pretty good educated guess about what your opponent's going to throw if you're going to do those things. Simon did a great job setting up that right hand over my left shoulder. Good. We talk about how a lot of boxing is a battle of positions. I feint the right hand, and I get Simon off base, and I'm going to keep pressing my advantage, there you go, until he reestablishes a strong position to fight out of, and he does, and you see we're back to a 50-50. I'll give credit where credit is due here. I came out there and Simon was immediately throwing that 6, and I think he hits me with it 3 or 4 times here. He comes through fast and strong with a neutral fist right up my center line, because he knows that when I'm in that middle distance guard, it's my left elbow, my left forearm that's protecting my center line. And he knows that if he's throwing that 6, that I can't punch. I'm stuck behind my guard in that middle distance. And you can see I adjust my guard to accommodate that, and Simon's smart enough to start playing with the 3. So now he's using the threat of that 6 to land the 3. He does a great job. I'm really happy to have him as a teammate. I try to take those moments back, get to a place where I can attack center line, use that movement to set up my 3, to set up my shots. Good. I try to threaten to the liver there, Not an especially well-structured shot, but just something to try to encourage him to keep that right elbow at home so he'll stop throwing that 6 because it's giving me trouble. Right here again, you can see habits that I have from when I have a right hand. So you can see when I end up elbow side on his open side, I use my head to lever to attack the center line with the right hand. I recognize I can't do that, so I try to do it again on the closed side to set up the 3, but Simon's too clever and he's out of there. There, I try it again, using my head to lever around that elbow and create an opportunity to attack center line from the open side. Something that I really struggled with in a lot of these spars is I find I spend a lot of time slipping and rolling and defending to my right and thinking about those same side returns coming back and countering from my right side. But I find when I've only got my left hand, I have to be able to continue to defend and move from that position. And it got me in trouble a few times where now I have to sequence 2 or 3 head movements together to put myself in a position where I can throw that left hand. You can see I rediscovered my legs here after getting hit with Simon's right hand a couple times. And I remembered a lesson I did a while ago about pairing lanes and angles. Lane, angle, center line. You can see it. Lane, angle, center line. Lane, angle, angle, center line. And you can see initially, I'm just trying to take the angle. And then twice, I go lane, angle. And then on the third time, because I know Simon's clever and he's gonna keep up with me, I go lane, angle, angle. I gotta shake him. I gotta kick this down the road to be able to create that breakaway moment. You can see me trying to use my pendulum step as a feint to bait Simon to engage so that I can hit him. He doesn't take the bait. I think it's just a good kind of rule of thumb. Anytime somebody's doing something squirrely, try not to spring their trap. Just let them reset. Make them box like a normal person. Don't fall for the silly stuff. Don't fall for the obvious setups. Good. You can see Simon's learned from the first round, and I'm trying to get a little bit of a handle on the situation here, where I'm feinting with my right hand. I want to threaten with it in the hopes that I can create a setup. I don't get a lot of mileage out of that, so I get back on my bicycle and I'm trying to move, pairing an angle with a lane. Simon smothers it, and I don't create that moment that I'm looking for. When in doubt, jab. Jab and move your feet. Again, you see Simon land his 6. Beautiful. And me immediately attack that liver because, again, I want to disincentivize this behavior. I want to encourage him to keep that right hand home, keeping him safe. A fun little moment here where I fake, after getting hit with the 6, I fake my own 6 and throw the 3-5. I frame with my head, which is a situation that I would usually use to set up that right hand. It doesn't work. I try to cross 3 whole lanes of traffic to hit Simon with my left, and of course, I get hit for my troubles. Sloppy boxing on my behalf. I'm thinking I'm throwing things at the wall, but that was not the appropriate way to solve that problem. You can see me tighten everything up and hunker down at the start of this round. In the previous round, I felt like I was losing the battle of bases here, so I'm trying to be more solid and more present in this round. Good. When we clash, I'm trying to peel out around Simon. I'm trying not to get stuck standing in front of him if I can help it when we hit that middle distance and that inside. The easiest defense to counter is a parry. If you think somebody's gonna parry, then hook around their hand. And you can see here, if we watch it again, Simon turn his right hand out, right there. So the next time I come through, I just come around that hand. You want to be careful parrying if somebody could reach you with a hook in a beat. And Simon's smart. He doesn't like how that fight's going on the outside, so he comes in there and he smothers. Strong athlete. lots of fun work here on the ropes where I'm trying to hunt for that open side angle. Simon does a good job of switching positions with me and putting my back toward the corner. He understands traffic, I understand traffic. We understand pummeling for guards, hands, and elbows. We both know how to use our head. Got some fun inside work here. And I finally get that angle, but it was a labor to make it happen. I try again. This time he doesn't let me get it. And he gives me a little cheeky right hand for my troubles. And again, he finds that 6. So again, I try to hit the body. He tries to catch and pitch. It works. He mixes it up with the 4. That's why I love working with educated fighters. We're constantly kicking these tactics down the road. We're not just in there trading brain cells for the fun of it. So that's just me breaking down some of my subtractive training. Your subtractive training might look different depending on kind of what you're working around or what you're removing, but I always encourage people to remove the thing that's their best tool, because that's probably the thing that they're leaning on and depending on the most. And if you remove it, you give your other tools and tactics room to grow in its absence. If you can apply this principle to your fighting and your training, then you will undeniably become a better fighter. You will grow, you will learn more, you will understand positions and counters better, and you will have success when you fight.